Welcome to the Perfect Your Purpose podcast, where my main goal is to connect with inspiring individuals across the country, allow them to share their journeys that have brought them to where they are today, and how they are living out and discovering their unique purpose. I am your host, Danica Tramburg, and I am joined today by Sarah Manuel, a school psychologist, author, and coach. She survived a death sentence when diagnosed with the #1 genetic killer of children under age 2. The disorder that was supposed to kill her instead left her in a wheelchair, filled with incredible perseverance. So just thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to get to talk to you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you have an incredible story about overcoming some huge obstacles in life. Can you just share with our listeners what you were diagnosed with?
Yes, so my disease is called spinal muscular atrophy. It's one of the muscular dystrophy diseases. And so what it means to me on a day-to-day basis is I do live my life in a wheelchair. I am extremely weak. So like 1 pound of weight is really heavy for me. And my disease is progressive, meaning that I am stronger today than I will be in, say, 5 or 10 years.
Wow. I know too, like your story is just really impactful in so many ways, but instead of looking at your disability as a hindrance, how is it that you're able to embrace your uniqueness?
Well, first of all, I really don't like that word disability because it talks about the things I can't do before it talks about all the things I can do. And I can do so many more things than what I can't do. But that's the way most people recognize, being in a wheelchair or whatever. So I do use that word, but I've always kind of had that mindset where I could do so much more than what I can't do. And when I was having a conversation like in my 20s with a friend of mine, and she made a statement to me like, well, your disability isn't a mistake. You're not a mistake. And I'm sure I've heard that message in some form or another before then, but when she said it, it really resonated with me. And I took that to mean, well, if I'm not a mistake, then there is a purpose behind me being in a wheelchair. And when I was able to kind of wrap my head around that and search for my purpose with that kind of premise, that's when everything kind of opened up for me in terms of my career and it kind of encapsulates the way I live my life. Like I can do so much more. There's a reason why I didn't die at age 4 or 5, and I'm going to live my life searching for those reasons and fulfilling those reasons.
I love that message. I think that's so important, and everyone needs to hear that, is that, no matter what obstacle life throws your way, you're all meant for something more. Mm-hmm. And even though things may stop you, things may look like, they're not looking up right now or something, there's always, a reason for things to happen. And I've said this before, but I believe God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Mm-hmm. And it's just really amazing to hear you take something that someone could, really look as, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? What am I going to do with it? Like, now what? And take it to the next level and inspire other people. And I know that, there's so many things that you weren't supposed to be able to do. One of them, having a child, and you overcame that too. So, tell me about your son, raising him, and just what it's been like watching him grow up and yet again experience a miracle in your life.
Yeah, he is for sure a miracle. For years, like after we were married, like we went back and forth to doctors and they all disagreed about whether I could or could not have a baby. And then it got to a point where we were just like, the upside is so much greater than the downside, and our life would not be as full or complete if we didn't try. So we decided to try. We got pregnant the first time we tried, and I breezed through pregnancy. There was a show on years ago called I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, and I thought, this can't be real. And then I got pregnant and I had such an easy pregnancy. It's like, oh, I get it now. yeah, it was like one of the real concerns was the impact carrying a child would have on my lungs. And they monitored me very closely. I was constantly doing pulmonary function tests, and my lungs actually got stronger when I was pregnant than weaker. I'm really, really hard to get blood from, like for blood draws, whatever. I didn't have that problem when I was pregnant. Like, and we were hoping I could carry him to 32 weeks because at that point, the baby's lungs would be developed enough to kind of make it on their own. Not ideal, but that was the goal. I worked through 35 weeks and I carried him to 38 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So it was a mirror. I mean, they went, and I had this sense of peace when I found that I was pregnant, that we were both going to be okay. And God came through. It was amazing.
It's like he gave you that strength more than you have regularly when you were pregnant, just to get through that amazing experience.
Yeah.
When you go ahead.
Yeah. So and we named him Nathan, which means gift from God. As soon as I saw the meaning of the name, it's like, yep, that's his name.
I love that. That's amazing. When you think of purpose, I know we kind of touched this in the beginning, but what does that mean to you? Because I think it has a huge meaning, I'm sure, and many meanings, but can you just tell us, like, when you hear purpose and everything you've been through in your life, what is your purpose? How do you want to live that out?
So purpose to me means fulfilling God's plan for when he decided that I was supposed to be born. He had a plan for me, and purpose is living out that plan. So for me, that means working with in school psychology, where I identify and advocate for kids with disabilities and their families. That has been very fulfilling. And now I mean, my life is very typical for a typical person, but it's very, extraordinary for somebody with a disability, and it shouldn't be that way. So I've kind of pivoted a little bit to where now I want to, because I think that the key to my success is my mindset, and just knowing how to think about challenges rather than being defeated by them, how to use them kind of to give you power and give you what you need to overcome. So I want to teach other people that same mindset, to give them the tools so that they can achieve whatever their purpose is.
That's so good. I love that. And you even wrote a book called Differences in Dynamite. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's a children's book, and it's about some animal friends who they all have differences. And instead of being ashamed or embarrassed about them, because I think that's what, I mean, everybody has differences, whether it's, considered a disability or not. We're all different for a reason. And instead of being ashamed or embarrassed about those differences, the friends look for the differences in other people and they celebrate them, because that's what makes them so unique and special. So that's what that book is about.
It's amazing. I think that's so true, because I think about this all the time. If we were all the same, how boring would life be, right?
Absolutely.
We wouldn't have a lot to talk about because we would all be the same, look the same, do the same thing. I mean, differences are really what make us who we are. And I think there's something to be cherished about it. And everyone has these gifts and talents that are unique to their own selves, which is very cool.
Right. Yeah, and I think sometimes we downplay our differences because we don't want to stand out from our group of friends or from what society expects us to be. But I really think that's where, like if you're looking for your purpose, I think that's where you can kind of unlock it. Because you were given those differences for a reason. And instead of running away from them or trying to pretend they're not there, like I did with my disability for years, I was the queen of denial with that one. Like as soon as I acknowledged it and celebrated it, that unlocked, my life basically. So it's such an important thing to really look into and delve into. And I think that the advice that most experts give about do what makes you happy to find your purpose is so wrong, because most people are looking for joy and fulfillment, not happiness. Because to me, happiness is very fleeting. Like
Yeah.
it comes and goes with, if you're given flowers, that makes you happy.
Right.
And if somebody says something wrong to you, then you're not happy anymore.
Yeah.
But with
Exactly.
that joy, like it's constant, it's there all the time.
Tell me a little bit about how faith plays a role in just your positive mindset and outlook on life.
Well, I knowing that God made me for a reason and a purpose, and that no matter what I'm going through right now or struggling with right now, there's a bigger reason that I can't see. And he has always been there for me. Like I can remember when I was, maybe a toddler, preschooler, after I was diagnosed, my parents taking me to healings. And they didn't work the way that they wanted them to work because they wanted me to walk.
Right.
But and I think my parents kind of lost some of their faith because they didn't get the result that they were praying for. But I look at my life now and the condition that I am in, like I'm not on feeding tubes, I'm not on breathing machines 24 hours a day, like so many people with my disability. To me, the healing's worked. I'm still here and I'm thriving and I have a message to give to people and I'm delivering that message. So to me, the healing's worked and God is good and he is going to carry me through any struggles that I have.
It's such a good testament to you pray for something, you're like, God, are you listening to me? Are you not listening to me? Because something might not be answered in the exact way that you wanted him to, but I think he always does it in a way that's better,
Yeah,
in a way that definitely has a greater purpose, like you're saying. I mean, no, you can't walk, but to see where you are right now and all that you're doing, maybe that's because that's making the bigger impact.
right. Yeah.
It's really incredible. And another thing too with purpose and kind of trying to understand, how does someone find that? Can you talk about maybe, your time frame when, you're trying to figure out like why me, like what am I supposed to do with this? Like what is my message? What is my purpose in this, lifetime? How did you, how long did that look? Because I think sometimes people are like, okay, I'm 20 something years old, I should be doing what I want to be doing in my career, I should be married, or I should be knowing what I'm here for, kind of thing. And I think that everyone's journey is so different. So if you could explain that a little.
Yeah. So it took years and years and years. Like I was, I graduated with I double majored for my undergrad in interior design and journalism. So completely not what I'm doing now. Then I tried law school for a semester and a half and decided I didn't want to devote my entire life to law, which
Yeah.
I could be a lawyer, I could have a life. So I chose having a life because I had just met my now husband. So, and then I had lots of really horrible jobs. And then I had a job where I was a customer service rep. So I was typing for 40 plus hours a week and my arms couldn't keep up with that.
Oh my gosh.
Disease. So then it's like, okay, I can't go back there. What am I going to do now? And kind of up until this point, I was really in denial of my disability. Like I grew up in a small town, so I was really the only one in a wheelchair. So I was really able to kind of put it in the back of my mind to pretend it didn't exist. And when I would go out, to a more populated city, and I would run into other people with disabilities, I felt really uncomfortable because it was like looking in a mirror and I couldn't be in denial.
Yeah.
So through the whole college thing, I was still like in denial, but then I got to that point where my arms can no longer do the 40-hour plus week. And that's kind of when my friend said that, you're not a mistake. And I kind of put everything together where if I'm not a mistake, then there's a purpose for this. And I made a complete 180 shift from being uncomfortable with being around other people with disabilities to now I work with them all the time, all day, every day. That's
Yeah.
what I do. So when I finally embraced that side of myself, that's when my purpose opened up for me. And before that, I was just like, I was doing everything I could think of to find it.
Mhm.
And nothing was working because I had to just stop being in denial of what God gave me.
Totally. The people that you work with now, is there any like favorite story you have of watching someone kind of come from a negative mindset, or I don't know, like what I'm doing to, someone who other people look up to now?
Yeah, I worked with a student for years, and we would constantly talk about, her mindset and how, she shouldn't let other people get her down and that kind of thing. And she went through a really rough period. And now she is like a totally different person. She's come into her own. She had a baby a little while ago, and she's just like a shining. Like, I love talking to her because she has come so far and she knows how far she's come. And when you have that kind of perspective, she's like, yeah, it's good.
That is amazing. Do you feel like there's anything that's, helped you along the way? I know we talked about faith, um, but is there anything else that's kind of helped you with your purpose and just kind of, keeping going every day? Because we're all human, we all have bad days. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear what that is for you.
Yeah, for me, it's my husband. He was always there from the beginning, just kind of challenging what I thought I could do. And he was always the type to challenge, just to not feel sorry for me. He's like, oh no, you can do this. Like, he was the first one that said, you can have kids. I'm like, I don't think I can have kids. It's like, you can have kids. And then that's when we started even asking the question. I think I was too afraid of the answer to even ask the question. And he was just like, no, you can do this. I see how strong you are. You can do this. So just having that person to not coddle me and feel sorry for me and kind of make excuses for me, and instead challenge me and push me out there and have this, unending faith that I can do everything that I set my mind to. That kind of gives me like, okay, I can do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wish we all had that person, and I hope everyone does someday have that person that always pushes them. It's so important to have that cheerleader in life, and it's
Yeah.
really incredible to see.
Yeah.
What are your next steps? Are you going to write another book? Is there anything else that, any other goals, aspirations that you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so I'm working on a program now called Don't Dismiss Your Ability, where I will teach that mindset to other people with disabilities, and not only them, but also the caretakers, their parents, because I can remember my mom and dad always telling me, well, can't means you don't want to. And I kind of resisted that, and then it was just kind of hit me. It's like, oh, they were teaching me mindset, and I don't even know if they were aware of it, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. And it wasn't like they were shaming me for the physical things I couldn't do.
Yeah.
It was all about my mind. It's like,
Mhm.
you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to figure out a way to do it. So I want to teach other people with disabilities and like I said, their parents, how to be set up for success and to overcome the many obstacles that we have, and do life on your terms.
That's incredible. And my last question for you would be, if you had a piece of advice for anyone, someone who may have a disability or may not, or just finds themselves in a rough patch in life, or someone who doesn't have direction, what would you say to them to help them kind of figure out their path and purpose?
I would say don't let your circumstances dictate your reality. Like, you have so much power and strength within you that you don't have to let some circumstance or some obstacle get, you can maneuver around it, you can find a way to work through it. It's not a stopping point. It may be a speed bump, but it's not a stopping point. So just to keep going and keep pushing through, and no matter what life throws at you, just keep on pushing.
I love it. Where can people find your children's book if they're looking for it?
It's on Amazon, and you can either search my name or Differences Are Dynamite.
Wonderful. And is there a website or any social media that people can follow your journey and what incredible things that you're doing along the way?
Yeah, my website is sarahmanuel.com, and I'm on Instagram at sarahmanuel35 and Facebook at manuelsarah35.
Wonderful. Well, it was incredible talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.